Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, guys, I'm going to read this article from cscmu.edu, and I will make sure to put the link in the description box. Understanding Scientology by Marjorie Wakefield, Chapter 3. The Propaganda of Scientology, Playing for Blood. When you have succeeded in making men believe that change is necessary and possible, and that they are the ones who can achieve it, when you have convinced them that they and the small minority of whom they are a part can transform the world in their lifetime, you have achieved something very considerable indeed. You have put into their lives a dynamic force so powerful that you can bring them to do what would otherwise be impossible. It's a manipulation. The dull and humdrum becomes meaningful. Life becomes purposeful and immensely more worth living. Douglas Hyde, Dedication and Leadership. Douglas Hyde, the author quoted above, was for 20 years a dedicated communist and the news editor of the London edition of the Daily Worker, a communist newspaper. That doesn't scream slavery. Becoming disillusioned with the inconsistencies which he saw between the stated ideology of the Communist Party and the translation of that ideology into actual practice, Hyde rejected the party, resigned his job, and eventually became converted to the Catholic Church. In 1966, he delivered a series of lectures to a convocation of Catholic leaders from at least 5 continents, and the book Dedication and Leadership consists of the transcripts of those lectures. In the very first lecture, Hyde states, "If you ask me what is the distinguishing mark of the communist, what it is that communists most outstandingly have in common, I would say that beyond any shadow of doubt, it is their idealism, their zeal, dedication, devotion to their cause, and willingness to sacrifice. The vast majority of the communists I have met anywhere conform to this pattern." It also reminds me of conforming will. I believe Aleister Crowley was about that. He said, "Do as thou wilt," but I think it was more like taking people's free will. This same quote is equally true if it is read with the word Scientologist substituted for the word communist. This is also true of the following paragraph from the same lecture. Youth is a period of idealism. The communist Scientologists attract young people, by appealing directly to that idealism. Just like they did in the Nazis, too. Too often, others have failed either to appeal to it or to use it, and they are the losers as a consequence. We have no cause to complain if, having neglected the idealism of youth, we see others come along, take it, use it, and harness it to their cause and against our own. That's where, metaphysically, that's harvesting energy. Otherwise known as child abuse. Nowhere is there a group of predominantly young people, better known as children, more idealistic, more dedicated, more fervently devoted, let's just say mind control, to their cause than in Scientology. Scientologists give all their time, their energy, their money and assets, and even their children to the cause, frequently living in a manner that would seem comfortably familiar to, for example, a first-century Christian. I dispute that. They're living in dire poverty, a lot of them. The fanatic dedication of the Scientologist does not come about by accident. It is carefully and systematically inculcated by the propaganda of Scientology, to which both the novice and seasoned Scientologist are exposed on a daily basis. Essential, therefore, to understanding both Scientology and the Scientologists is an examination of the propaganda contained in the millions of words of Hubbard on tape recordings and in printed bulletins, listened to or read daily by the Scientologist. Mind control. A distinction is made here between the propaganda of Scientology and that of Dianetics. In Dianetics, the new convert is led to believe in cures for an endless array of physical maladies, from asthma to allergies to cancer, and even to believe that through Dianetic and Scientology auditing, there will be an exemption from death itself. It is fabled that through auditing, the Scientologist of advanced age will be able to simply drop the body at will and without pain. But it is through the propaganda of Scientology, separate from the subscience of Dianetics, that the true programming of the Scientologist takes place, and it takes place as follows. Upon entry into Scientology, let's talk about the children too, right there, that have no choice. The initiate is given a packet of written materials consisting of a series of printed bulletins written by Hubbard and serving as an introduction into the sect. One of the first bulletins read by the initiate is the one, oh, what a perfect name, is the one called The Aims of Scientology. This bulletin is important because it delivers the first message to the newcomer. The message that Scientology is a good thing. A civilization without insanity, without criminals, and without war, where the able can prosper and honest beings can have rights, and where man is free to rise to greater heights, are the aims of Scientology. I just have to comment on that. I mean, just look at them. I mean, you have a lot of Scientologists that are completely living below the poverty line, and then the wealthy Scientologists are getting sucked dry, having everything taken from them. Not to mention their health. I mean, a lot of them, if you see them, they just look so sickly. And there's a lot of reasons for that. First announced to an enturbulated world 15 years ago, enturbulated means upset. These aims are well within the grasp of our technology. Non-political in nature, Scientology welcomes any individual of any creed, race, or nation. We know that's a lie. We seek no revolution. We seek only evolution to higher states of being for the individual and for society. I'm pretty sure these kinds of terms are used in other communistic doctrines. I'm no expert. I have this other book I want to read about communism that I've been putting off. It's all a trap. We are achieving our aims. You see how they implant the thoughts? They don't even allow people to have their own thoughts. After endless millennia of ignorance about himself, his mind, and the universe, a breakthrough has been made for man. This is just like the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious, which is narcissistic. Other efforts man has made have been surpassed. Really? Let's please explain. The combined truths of 50,000 years of thinking men, which none of them think, unfortunately, distilled and amplified by new discoveries about man, have made for this success. We welcome you to Scientology. We only expect of you your help in achieving our aims and in helping others. We expect you to be helped, which we all know that none of that is happening. So I'm not here to berate every Scientologist. But if you're subjecting your child to abuse, then I got a real problem with that. And we all know a lot of, okay, I'm kind of going off, but my opinion is that if you're okay with your children being abused like that, you're more narcissistic in nature. That's just my opinion. I think maternal and paternal parents, when they find out these kinds of things, they're like, F this, we're out. Scientology is the most vital movement on earth today. That's a lie. In a turbulent world, the job is not easy, but then if it were, we wouldn't have to be doing it. See the mind control? So people in Scientology, a lot of the good ones, they have good intentions. And then they're just being sucked dry. We respect man and believe he is worthy of help. Really, unless he's homeless. We respect you and believe you too can help. All lies. Scientology does not owe its help. We have done nothing to cause us to propitiate. Had we done so, we would not now be bright enough to do what we are doing. Man suspects all offers of help. He has often been betrayed, his confidence shattered. Well, Scientology is good for that one. All the auditing and all the sec checks, that'll mess people's confidence up, shatter their confidence. Too frequently, he has been given his trust and been betrayed. Scientology does that. It's all flowery. We may err, for we build a world with broken straws. But we will never betray your faith in us so long as you are one of us. Oh, look at that. That's telling. The sun never sets on Scientology. Well, you got that right. You make people work 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And may a new day dawn on you for those you love and for man. I think he was trying to be a poet or something. It just makes me want to barf. Our aims are simple, if great. Really? Like sucking everybody's money from them. I guess that's your aim, huh? And we will succeed. Yeah, they did. Kind of reminds me of an old George Bush Sr. Into the Light speech. Just saying. And we will succeed and are succeeding at each new revolution of the earth. Your help is acceptable to us. Our help is yours. That's a real Crowleyan thing to say. And that was by L. Ron Hubbard, the one and only adulterer, the one and only convicted felon, the one and only fraudster, liar, crook, scumbag. Similarly, in the next bulletin, the newcomer to Scientology will read, called My Philosophy. He or she receives the message that the founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, is a good and wise man. Lies. All L. Ron Hubbard did was steal everyone else's ideas. The first principle of my own philosophy is that wisdom is meant for anyone who wishes to reach for it. It is the servant of the commoner and king alike and should never be regarded with awe. The second principle of my own philosophy is that it must be capable of being applied. That reminds me of Napoleon Hill. The third principle is that any philosophic knowledge is only valuable or true if it works. A philosophy can only be a route to knowledge. It can be crammed down one's throat. If one has a route, he can then find what is true for him. That's all a lie, because we all know people are frowned on from having any averse thoughts to loving Scientology, to never asking questions. And that is Scientology. Know thyself. Oh, now that is like an Eastern philosophy, metaphysical philosophy all across the board. I don't know who originally stated it, but I know Socrates was one. Know thyself and the truth shall set you free. Reminds me of MLK. I like to help others and count it as my greatest pleasure in life to see a person free himself of the shadows which darken his days. All flowery talk. But I mean, that's how he's getting people. So Scientologists, a lot of them, they have like really good intentions. I have seen much human misery, really. As a very young man, I wandered through Asia, well, here's more propaganda, and saw the agony and misery of overpopulated and underdeveloped lands. I have seen people uncaring and stepping over dying men in the streets. Oh, because, you know, L. Ron Hubbard is so caring. See, he's trying to get people with that emotion. I have seen children less than rags and bones, and amongst this, poverty and degradation, I found holy places where wisdom was great, but where it was carefully hidden and given out only as superstition. Later in Western universities, I saw a man obsessed with materiality and with all his cunning, like you, L. Ron Hubbard. I saw him hide what little wisdom he really had in forbidding halls, very metaphysical, and make it inaccessible to the common and less favored man. I have been through a terrible war, liar, and saw its terror and pain uneased by a single word of decency or humanity. I mean, it is well written. I give him that. I have lived no cloistered life and hold in contempt the wise man who has not lived and the scholar who will not share. Yeah, like L. Ron who took everybody else's stuff. There have been many wiser men than I, but few have traveled as much road. Oh, jeez. Can I throw up now? I have seen life from the top down and the bottom up. I know how it looks both ways, and I know there is wisdom and that there is hope. Unfortunately, I think a lot of Scientologists get their hope taken from them, which is sad. But I have never seen wisdom do any good kept to oneself. And as I like to see others happy, liar, and as I find the vast majority of the people can and do understand, I will keep on writing and working and teaching so long as I exist. Never cites any of the books or other places that he got material from. If things were a little better known and understood, we would all lead happier lives. Then why are so many Scientologists not happy, L. Ron? And there is a way to know them and there is a way to freedom. There's no freedom in Scientology. All flowery stuff. The old must give way to the new. Falsehood must become exposed by truth. And truth, thought, always in the end prevails. L. Ron Hubbard. How's that for propaganda? In all of the propaganda of Scientology, 4 lessons predominate. 1, that there is a problem. Yeah, and then they'll fix it. Number 2, that there is a solution to the problem. They all do that. Problem, solution. Number 3, that the solution can only be found in Scientology. They all do that. Even network marketing does that. What will happen if the problem is not solved? The first problem posed by Hubbard is the imminent danger of nuclear war, and it is only Scientology that has the potential to thwart the danger. That's also fear porn. We are the only people and the only organization on earth which have the technology and the ambition to attempt a clarification of situations which in other hands are considered entirely out of control. To wit, the atomic bomb and the decay of and confusion of central governments, from Purpose by L. Ron Hubbard. So they're making all the Scientologists feel like they're the only ones with the answers. I've heard this over and over. All cults do that. The use or neglect of this material, Scientology, may well determine the use or neglect of the atomic bomb by man. In the same period in history, 2 of the most sweeping forces man has known have come to fruition: a knowledge of himself and others, with Scientology, they add that, because he got it from everyone else, and a means of destroying himself and all others by atomic fission, which force wins depends in a large measure on your use of Scientology. That's kind of interesting. If you guys notice a lot of these sentences, I think he was pulling from all these different texts, and then he would add, but you only get it from Scientology. Because, in case people didn't know, they had to know that they're only going to get wisdom, they're only going to help the world if they use Scientology. That's why children are adults in small bodies, huh? The mission of Scientology is not conquest. It is civilization. It is a war upon stupidity, the stupidity which leads us to last war of all. As your associates, their homes, their children, their possessions, and all their future lie ending in a radioactive street, there won't be time to wish we'd worked harder. Been less easily dissuaded from pressing our arguments. There's not much earth time in which to distribute this knowledge. This is a solution to our barbarism, out of which we would lose all. It is time man grew up. This is what we have in mind, for there can be but weeping in the night where ignorance, factionalism, hatred, and exploitation are served by the most ferocious and final weapon of all, the H-bomb. More fear. Got to keep everybody terrified. We've never seen that before. Can you say threat levels? With man now equipped with weapons sufficient to destroy all mankind on Earth, the emergence of a new science capable of handling man is vital. Scientology is such a science. With Scientology, man can prevent insanity, lies, criminality, lies, and war, lies. The primary race of Earth is not between one nation and another today. The only race that matters at this moment is the one being run between Scientology and the atomic bomb. See, he keeps dropping in. It's got to be Scientology. That's repetition of mind control. The history of man, as has been said by well-known authorities, may well depend upon which one wins. From Fundamentals of Thought by L. Ron Hubbard. The second problem posed by Hubbard is that mankind is caught in a trap, and that he has been in this trap for millions of years, during which he has been recycling back to Earth through an endless series of lifetimes. It is only through Scientology auditing that he can escape this trap. See? Over and over. You can't do anything unless you use Scientology. What did Hubbard say that, I forgot what the quote is, but the way to get really rich is to create a religion that charges money. In 50,000 years of history on this planet alone, man never evolved a workable system. It is doubtful if, in foreseeable history, he will ever evolve another. Boy, full of himself there, huh? Man is caught in a huge and complex labyrinth. To get out of it requires that he follow the closely taped path of Scientology. In case you guys didn't know, you notice? Again, it's got to be Scientology. Scientology will take him out of the labyrinth, but only if he follows the exact markings in the tunnels. It has taken me a third of a century in this lifetime to tape this route out, from Safeguarding Technology by L. Ron Hubbard. We're free men and women, probably the last free men and women on Earth. If we don't do a good job now, we may never get another chance. Lies, 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 lies. So we have an organization, we have a chance. Lies. That's more than we had last time night's curtain began to fall on freedom. Boy, for people that are like so locked up and not allowed to do anything, he sure does talk about freedom a lot. But that's the inversion. Because Aleister Crowley, law of reversal, reverse everything. And then he props it up again. An organization such as ours is our best chance to get the most done. So we're doing it. From your post by L. Ron Hubbard. Is there a way out? Yes, there is. We have it in Scientology now. I have found it and charted it. I know exactly how to open the gate. Well, thank God L. Ron Hubbard knows how to open the gate, huh? Gatekeeper? From Escape by L. Ron Hubbard. The whole agonized future of this planet, every man, woman, and child. Oh, are there children? I thought there were no children. Huh. Man, woman, and child on it, and your own destiny for the next endless trillions of years depend on what you do here and now with it in Scientology. From Keeping Scientology Working by L. Ron Hubbard. The Scientologist is trained to believe that the salvation of mankind can only be achieved by the science of Scientology, that Scientology supersedes any other mental health technology, and that there is no other hope. In all the broad universe, there is no other hope for man than ourselves. From Ron's Journal, 1967, by L. Ron Hubbard. Let us face the reality of this thing. The world confronts several crises. Man's inhumanity to man is gaining monuments daily. The time to bring a chaos under control, order out of chaos, Hegelian dialectic, is before it is well begun. We're slightly late as it is. Brutally, there's no other organization on earth. He just repeats it over and over. That can slow these down. Factually, there is no other know-how on earth that can plumb the problems of man. So if we don't want all of us to be sitting amongst the charred embers, we had better get busy. From the 18th ACC by L. Ron Hubbard. We are the first group on earth that knew what they were talking about. All right, sail in. The world's ours. Own it. From The World Is Ours by L. Ron Hubbard. Auditors have, since the first session of Scientology, been the only individuals on this planet, in this universe, capable of freeing man. From Auditors by L. Ron Hubbard. Oh, I guess the children that have to ask all these extremely diabolical, repugnant, disgusting, filthy sexual questions, that helps to save the world. Scientology is the only valid and fully tested mental process which man has. From The Road Up by L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology is a science of lies. It is the first entirely Western effort to understand life. All earlier efforts came from Asia or Eastern Europe, and they failed. Scientology is something new under the sun, but young as it is still the only completely and thoroughly tested and validated science of existence. From The Problems of Work by L. Ron Hubbard. Excuse my French, but L. Ron Hubbard was just writing stuff out of his ass. Although he's very well spoken, I will say that. Scientology is less than a decade, has become the world's primary study of man. Oh, it wasn't a religion? In the mind and has today, and the mind, and has today more offices and practitioners, none of them are medical, so they should never say that, than all other 19th century practices combined. Thus we must learn to bury the past of mental healing and look forward to our better day, the day of Scientology and new hope, the day of help without threat or harm, the day of a new and better civilization born with the birth of a better understanding of man. From What is Scientology by L. Ron Hubbard. I highly recommend you guys to go check out George W. Bush, the senior, the father. His speech, I think it's called In the Light, where he talks about the New World Order. Go check that out. Just the way he's talking reminds me of this. Through their training, Scientologists learn that they are the true elite in this world and that one cannot be a good Scientologist unless he or she is tough and dedicated. We're the elite of planet Earth. From Current Planning by L. Ron Hubbard. That also explains a lot of the crazy behaviors we see. When somebody enrolls in Scientology, consider he or she has joined up for the duration of the universe. Never permit an open-minded approach. Let's say that again. Never permit an open-minded approach. If they're going to quit, let them quit fast. David Miscavige, you might want to take note of that. If they're going to quit, let them quit fast. If they enrolled, they're aboard. And if they're aboard, they're here on the same terms as the rest of us. Win or die in the attempt. Never let them be half-minded about being Scientologists. The finest organizations in history have been tough, dedicated organizations. It's a tough universe. The social veneer makes it seem mild, but only the tigers survive. Well, can you just say narcissists? And even they have a hard time. We'll survive because we are tough and are dedicated. Well, then why do all the OT8s lose their bodies? Just a good question of the day. When we do instruct somebody properly, he becomes more and more tiger. When we instruct half-mindedly and are afraid to offend, scared to enforce, we don't make students into good Scientologists, and that lets everybody down. When Mrs. Pattycake comes to us to be taught, turn that wandering doubt in her eye into a fixed, dedicated glare. That's the mind control. And a spell. And she'll win, and we'll all win. Humor her, and we all die a little. It's hive mind. From Keeping Scientology Working by L. Ron Hubbard. Douglas Hyde, communist turned Catholic. Well, how convenient that is. Anybody who's in the know would know what I'm talking about. Lists as one of the primary reasons for the success of communist teaching the fact that the subject is always presented in global terms, that there is a global battle going on with suffering, sweating, toiling humanity on one side and with the new communist man on the other. Scientology is also presented to believers in global terms as the road to total freedom. Oh, isn't that how Natalie Webster says? The bridge to total freedom. And as the only hope for mankind. The goal of every Scientologist is nothing less than to clear the planet, to ensure the salvation of every person on earth through the attainment of the Scientology state of clear. Salvation of mankind through Scientology is an endeavor of vital importance and with global implications. We're playing for blood. The stake is earth. From Policy Letter dated 7 November 1962 of L. Ron Hubbard. The purpose of the field staff member, a Scientologist, is to help LRH Hubbard contact, handle, salvage, and bring understanding to individuals and thus the peoples of earth. From Field Auditors by L. Ron Hubbard. Now, without further discourse, let's get hot. This is Scientology, the freedom for man. Let it be known. From the Public Divisions by L. Ron Hubbard. The valuable final products of a Scientologist are disseminated knowledge, purchased books, can't forget the purchased books, environmental control, a cleared planet. From Org Board Division 6 by L. Ron Hubbard. The Witch in the Pot, the Test Tube, and the Scope, the Cell and the Club, the Textbook and the Lies. Control them or we die. Beat them or they win. That's us versus them. Starve them or we shrink. We are afraid, afraid, afraid. They said in that old age we killed. Freedom becks and we now laughing at their lives went free. Scientology, the road sign out. We are the free people. We live. We're free. Boy, he just kept repeating that. They're not even remotely close to free, unfortunately, guys. From We Are the Free People by L. Ron Hubbard. That's part of the mind control. I think that's why a lot of the Scientologists are walking around not understanding that they're not free. No offense, Scientologists. My purpose is to bring a barbarism out of the mud it thinks conceived it, and to form here on earth a civilization based on human understanding, not violence. I think a lot of people skip the violence part. Like when Confident Chris was punched in the face on camera and nobody knew anything. That's a big purpose, a broad field, a star-high goal. But I think it's your purpose too. Jeez, I don't even like reading all this stuff. From How We Work on the Third Dynamic by L. Ron Hubbard. We are the prime movers in this, the new age. Forget the old. Face up to what will come, and let the dead yesterdays bury the philosophy of authority and capital gains and communist psychology cults. We're no longer tied. The eons march on. Perhaps it's time. Due to our efforts, a humanitarian world can exist. We, the prophets of the morrow, know the way. From Scientology, The Philosophy of a New Age by L. Ron Hubbard. There is no greater game in the universe than Scientology, for it is the only game in which everybody wins. No, L. Ron Hubbard, not everybody wins. In fact, they're losing. They're really losing. They're sick. They're broke. They're sad all the time. The children are getting SA'd. The women are getting R'd. No. They're not winning. From Contests and Prizes by L. Ron Hubbard. We are the people who are ending the cycle of Homo sapiens and starting the cycle of a good earth. There is no barrier on our path except those we make ourselves. Our ability belongs to all worlds everywhere. From What is Scientology by L. Ron Hubbard. The excerpts given in this chapter are only a small sampling of the propaganda to which a Scientologist is exposed on a daily basis. Let's include the children because they're not allowed to really go to school. They're only allowed to be indoctrinated. The fact that exposure to such propaganda comes immediately after one has done a series of hypnotic, mind-numbing drills known as training routines. Oh, those are the TRs. Serves only to render the propaganda more deeply ingrained and more ferociously grasped by the Scientologist. These beliefs instilled into the mind of a Scientologist through endless hours of listening, indoctrination, to the rambling tape-recorded lectures of Hubbard, or through the volumes of printed bulletins, which are required reading on the many courses or classes in Scientology, soon take precedence over any prior system of beliefs. Within a relatively short time, Scientology is able to produce a fully programmed doctrine espousing bulletin-believing and fanatic Scientologist whose mind is lost behind the steely trap of cult, programming impervious to the logic and pleadings of well-intentioned family or friends. Is there such a thing as thought control? Yeah. Is it really possible for a mind to be brought under the full control of another? Yes. Ask any ex-Scientologist or a fugitive from any cult for that matter. Yeah, otherwise known as squirrels or SPs. They will tell you that the answer is incontrovertibly yes. Our minds are programmed for birth by parents, teachers, friends, books, movies, commercials on radio and television, etc. But nowhere are the results of programming more insidious than in a cult such as Scientology. I don't know. Parents desperate to rescue their child from the grasp of a mind-bending cult such as Scientology find themselves impotent in the face of a legal system without meaningful precedents in the gray area of mind control. It is legal for them to kidnap their child in order to deprogram the twisted cult thinking. The fact that the child has already been kidnapped mentally by the cult is not legally a factor. Psychological kidnapping is not a crime. Perhaps the only remedy for those still in relative possession of their critical faculties is a warning. Cherish your mind and guard it well, and beware the Hubbards of the world who seek to capture and harness your mind for their own predatory predatory purposes. But for thousands of young people in this country and others, it is already too late. Wow. This was really well written. I don't really have too much to say. I mean, it would be kind of interesting to do like a side-by-side review of other mind control programs or other mind control. I'm trying to think of that word. Not militia, but like systems. Okay, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. And if any under-the-radar Scientologists are listening, we want to help you. I know I talk a lot of ish, but we just want you to break out of the programming, and we want to help you. So please check out SPTV Foundation. And to everyone out there listening, peace and have a good day or night, wherever you are.